It's kind of a very unique spire or pinnacle or whatever you want to call it on the top here. Very pointy as compared to the ones I usually see. $1840 something. I can't read the date on that. I think it might be, oh no. Oh, see, this is another interesting one. You can see Athelia, wife of Reverend Moses Russell, passed on October 4th of 1841, 20 years and 5 months. And then if we go to the other side, we see Nancy Jane, wife of Reverend Moses Russell, died August 28th, 1840 something. So, very odd. I don't know, it's not odd because it's obvious what happened. His wife passed and he got remarried, but to then use the same stone to memorialize them is an interesting thing. I don't know really what to think of it, and it's not the only time that I've found that. But I think nowadays it would be highly unusual to think of such of an idea. And in fact, I would think that most people would probably nowadays desire not to have that happen. And so I find it interesting that it's not a unique thing to the historical cemeteries. Or I guess a historical practice. So again, one of those things, let me know what you think in the comments. If you've ever seen it in modern times, or you got any thoughts on it, maybe some historical insights from some of you. But as for me, I'm kind of confused as to why it was such a popular idea back in the day. Not that it's insulting in any way. I'm not thinking of it that way. I just saw this too. They used to write such elaborate poetry and sometimes Bible verses and things on the stones. I think nowadays it's become more popular to just do very simple messages, and often they had very long scriptures and verses for people to come and read that represented, something that the person really loved, or maybe it was a favorite Bible verse or favorite poem or whatever it may be. It's like they spent a lot of time really personalizing things, even if it was a mass-produced memorial. This tree has quite a few markers around it. Seems to be the popular idea when an area of people really have no idea what to do with a historical place like this, or what to do with the stones that they're not sure where they go. And so they often just find the nearest tree and prop them up against it, just like this stump here has several more. Looks like at least 5. There's 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 right down there. Which I would prefer it, at the very least, that they would keep them visible. So I don't like that part, but again, what can you do? Wow. So this is an interesting case here. You see a lot of stuff that was being damaged by the tree, and even one here that looked like it was about it might have fallen that way, but it kind of looked like it was about to get covered, maybe. I don't know. But again, it's kind of interesting how in the past they've removed the tree but not the headstones from the area, and no work's been done to put them back up. I'm not sure why this rock is here. Wow. Yeah, the more I see this place, I think it really is in kind of dire need for some work. You know, some places definitely have more memorials that are fallen over, but this one has so much decay. Oh, wow. Especially from the lichen growth and just the numerous trees that have so many piled around them that you know how much is really actually missing. Maybe the reason even that it looks as good as it does is because so many of the fallen stones have actually been placed up against a tree somewhere. Not always, obviously, as you can see even right behind us is this row here. So, but that being said, I think we've discovered a Revolutionary War veteran here. Really hard to read. I'm gonna try when I get back to the command center to do something with it, maybe put it up. If somebody wants to put it in the comments, feel free. It looks like it says they passed in 1811, and right here we can see the 1776 marker, which should indicate that this person here was a veteran of the Revolutionary War. And okay, I can read part of it. It does say, let's see, born in 1755 maybe, moved to Kentucky and then to Ohio, and then died in Xenia, which is where we are now. Doesn't mention, it's hard to see if it's, I don't see any mention of the Revolutionary War on the actual stone. Well, what an incredible find here again, showing exactly how old this place really is, despite being, you know, listed as a Union cemetery. Again, it was a cemetery long, long before the Civil War, and we're pretty far east, so it's probably one of the oldest cemeteries in this area. Or I shouldn't say east. We are east in the United States, but we are in western Ohio. So settlers would have arrived here much later than on the East Coast, obviously. So it's always kind of neat to see these really old areas, just knowing that, you know, they were some of the first European settlers to arrive in the area. Not that that's always a good thing, but it is a very interesting historical find at the very least. And again, arriving at another tree here, although far less memorials here. And we can kind of see where the end is now. The very back few rows are fairly new. And another stump, incredibly large, not incredibly large, but fairly large memorial here that's in nearly perfect condition. It could just be cleaned and put right back up, but next to it we have a bunch of little chunks. It's hard to think with stuff like this that it might not be some form, not necessarily vandalism, but somebody accidentally impacting, like while mowing, or it's like this. You can see this whole row is taken out, but there's something very specific that I'm noticing, and it's that if we slowly pan, you'll notice that all the stones have been knocked over in the same exact direction, leading me to believe that somebody was mowing and maybe not paying attention and hit right here and then continued on over the top. Otherwise, I don't see, other than a really huge gust of like wind from a tornado maybe, how it would all be in the same direction without it being an impact of some sort. And oh wow, I missed these two over here. They're not really hidden, but again, desperately needing attention. And I think this right here, I would assume, is either just a small fraction of what is actually the memorial, or has no association with this base stone because it's far too big. But there's another thing that you can't notice right off bat. There's something wrong with this one too, and that is that it was much taller. There was a top piece, and now it is laying down right next to it here. And absolutely amazing that it didn't do any damage to the stones around it. I can only imagine how much that weighs. That has to be going on 1,000 pounds. I mean, this section here is taller than I am, and about 1.5 feet thick, maybe just over a foot actually. But I guarantee you that is going on 1,000 pounds. So the fact that if it fell, I'm guessing it fell, but if it did, that was the luckiest fall ever, because that could have taken out any of these stones. It could have impacted any of these here. Obviously there's a lot covered up, but I mean, you can see just how close it was. So unless it was just removed so that it could be, I don't know. It doesn't seem likely that it was removed for any reason, unless they thought it was just so unstable. I have seen sometimes where they kind of do, as you can tell, this particular one, for whatever reason, they have not put any sort of metal reinforcement, no rebar or anything. And a lot of the stones that have the tops like that actually have some sort of reinforcement. And so I have seen occasionally where they will teeter along the edge, and maybe somebody did kind of see it and decided, for the safety of visitors and the other stones, they would go ahead and remove it. But I'm not sure exactly. Again, let me know if you think differently, or if you have any other ideas. You can see that Elizabeth here passed before the Civil War, and then James, I believe, let's see, that would have been right at the end of the Civil War, maybe shortly after. I can't remember the exact date. And the more and more I'm here, I'm finding all these little areas leading me to believe that, again, like I was saying, this place is in a lot more dire of need than it first appears from the road. There's a lot of wealthy housing in the area, so there's definitely enough money floating around to fix this place. I think it just takes somebody to get the ball rolling before people will donate those dollars. So, again, if this is one of those areas where you can help, please do. And if not, if you know of one in your local area, it'd be great to help out there as well. Lots of these places, just like this one, are in dire need of all of your help. And just because you might not live near this one doesn't mean that there's not a place where you can be of assistance too. And again, I'm no expert at any of this, so I can't do this. But some of you out there, some of you can. Some of you know what you're doing. And so, I challenge all those people out there to, do as much as possible and make things like this right. So I'm filming this actually right before I leave, and actually after I film the outro, but I'll put it in somewhere else. It looks like this section here actually has been marked for some sort of restoration work. As you can see, a lot like the other restoration area that we were at before, it is marked with all these little flags where there would be a marker that is no longer there or has been moved to one of these tree stumps along the edges of the rows. So, some good news in a place that is in dire need for some help. So, to those of you that maybe watched and lose a little bit of hope in humanity, there's still some hope yet. Alright everybody, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure out in Ohio. Make sure to stay tuned for many more. I think we've got about as much as we can get done here today and still be able to get around to a few other locations and film. So again, if you're enjoying this adventure, make sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all the upcoming videos coming from Kentucky and Ohio, and hopefully some more states here to come pretty soon as I start to get back out on the road and travel further and further again. So appreciate you all. Again, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and see you in the next adventure.